Five, four, three, two, one. Dzień dobry, Państwo. I am Dr. Michel S. Pawlowski, and I welcome you from the heartland of America, Chicago, Illinois, from the fields of Wisconsin and that very special Sunshine State in Florida, to this very special program sponsored by WPNA Radio 1490, the Polish National Alliance Radio. Our program is being picked up by Polish radio stations throughout the United States and is live streamed on the internet. We now have a new YouTube channel where you can view our entire broadcast. Please visit YouTube under the heading Polish Americans for Trump 2020 Show. Yes, the YouTube channel is Polish Americans for Trump 2020 Show. Our gorgeous star, Eva Neterowicz, could not be here with us today. She is on a special mission and sends her very best wishes to you, and she will be back with us tomorrow. Today's program is a follow-up to show number 3 on October 19, 2020, dealing with derogatory statements about Polish people. But first, I have to begin by saying how mad I am. I just found out that Facebook has a special engineering team headed up by Chinese nationals. These Chinese nationals are here in the US working for Facebook. You know what their job is? Their job is to censor conservatives, just like you and I, and block them off their page. I have to tell you that I had a very unpleasant experience on Monday when I found out that I was locked out of my Facebook account. I was going to post some additional material about our program on my Facebook page, and I tried many times, but was informed by a desktop message that I could not connect to the server. There seems to be a problem. Well, several hours later, I was able to get in, but something is fishy here. For all I know, I could have been locked out since last Friday. You know, can you believe that? It's really strange. Now, let me get back to our Monday show. Monday's show addressed Joe Biden's remarks during his town hall meeting last week. One of our listeners wrote in, and I would like to read some of his comments. Here's what he had to say. Multiple media outlets in the US and Poland have recently brought up statements of one of the presidential contenders, which promotes anti-Polish stereotypes and portray Polish Americans and Poland in a very negative light. Here is a statement by Joe Biden, that presidential contender who made those derogatory remarks. He contrasts Polish Americans with smart and educated people. Can you believe Joe Biden contrasted Polish Americans with smart and educated people in a very derogatory light? Let me repeat specifically what Joe Biden said. Well, look what's happened. Look at what started to seep in, beginning and probably even with candidates during our administration. We stopped showing up at the Polish American Club. We stopped showing up, and we all went to, the really smart people. We had a new coalition we were putting together. College educated women and college educated men, and boom, 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 and so on. Let me repeat again what Joe Biden said. Well, look what's happened. Look what started to seep in, beginning and probably even with candidates during our administration. We stopped showing up at the Polish American Club. We stopped showing up, and we all went to you, the really smart people. We had a new kind of coalition we were putting together. College educated women and college educated men, and boom, 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 and so on. These are Joe Biden's very own remarks in his own words. He does not think much of us Polish people. He does not consider Polish Americans smart people. Joe Biden does not consider Polish Americans smart people. Why would you even think about voting for that kind of guy, that buffoon? That presidential candidate, Joe Biden, carried on his derogatory remarks by saying that Poland is a totalitarian country. It cannot be denied that these statements are hostile and encourage others to propagate such stereotypes and anti-Polish bias. Let me repeat again. That presidential candidate, Joe Biden, carried on his derogatory comments by saying that Poland is a totalitarian country. It cannot be denied that these statements are hostile and encourage others to propagate such stereotypes and anti Polish bias. Our listener reminded us that imaginary Polish vices have been successfully used by both Nazis and communists to denigrate Polish people and turn public opinion in the US against Poland and Poles. These remarks have been very highly damaging to the Polish American community, having a negative impact on our reputation and our cultural identity to our youth. Okay. Our listener stated, I hope this situation had ended, but the public statements like the one given by candidate for President Joe Biden indicate that these stereotypes are alive and well. Listeners, based upon that letter, it is more than ever clear that there is only one choice. We must elect President Donald J. Trump, president for 4 more years. There is no other candidate worthy of the highest office in the United States, our country. Polish Americans, we need to stand up for who we are. Polish Americans, we are smart people. Yes, we are smart people, and we cannot afford to vote for that anti-Polish buffoon, Joe Biden. We need to vote for Donald J. Trump for president. He is a friend of the Polish people here, Polish Americans, and he is a friend of the Polish people abroad, the people of Poland. Now, we also received, I am glad to say, a response from the Trump campaign. I would like to read that response to you. This is an on-the-record quote provided to us specifically for our program from Courtney Perella. She is the Deputy National Press Secretary for the Donald J. Trump campaign, to give to the Polish Americans and other Americans listening to our program. Here it is. And I'm quoting her. It's clear from Joe Biden's comments at his town hall that he's confused again, as Poland and Hungary are free, democratic states working to reform their communist legacy institutions. To compare the regimes of Poland to Belarus is a display of Biden's lack of understanding of foreign policy issues, not to mention insulting to Polish Americans. It's completely disingenuous of Joe Biden to accuse the president of embracing thugs, while Biden himself has said he would return to the old Obama policy of coddling brutal regimes such as in Cuba and Venezuela. President Trump has taken a strong stance against oppressive socialist dictators throughout his time in office, and he will continue to do so after his elections. Yes, audience, I would like to remind you of what the Obama administration Defense Secretary Robert Gates said about Joe Biden. He said, Joe Biden has been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. I repeat again, the Obama administration Defense Secretary Robert Gates said, Joe Biden has been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. Okay. Again, Obama administration Defense Secretary Robert Gates said, Joe Biden has been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. Polish Americans, we simply cannot elect Joe Biden. When Donald Trump announced his candidacy for president, he launched a movement to restore the promise of America, the American dream. Since taking office, President Trump has delivered record-breaking results for all Americans. For decades, president after president, Republican and Democrat alike, failed to execute the agenda that they promised voters. Now, for the last 4 years, President Trump has kept his promise to the American people, especially Polish Americans, even when facing unprecedented attacks from the permanent Washington political class and their allies in the mainstream media. Listeners, Polish Trump delivered historic tax cuts and tax reform, majorly rolled back burdensome federal regulations, unleashed America's energy sector, and fought for free trade and fair trade. All Polish Americans benefited from these policies. I remind everyone listening to this program that throughout the first 3 years of Donald J. Trump's presidency, businesses large and small created nearly 7 million jobs, including 500,000 manufacturing jobs, many of those supporting Polish Americans across our great country. Yes, you listeners, this is a remarkable achievement. Not only that, but unemployment rates for African Americans, Asian Americans, and Hispanic Americans, as well as many Polish Americans, hit their lowest levels ever. And for women, the Donald Trump presidency achieved the lowest unemployment rate for women in 65 years. That alone is a tremendous accomplishment that Polish suburban women should recognize and vote Donald J. Trump for 4 more years. Yes, vote Donald J. Trump 4 more years. Audience, I have to point out that excuse me, audience. I have to point out that President Trump also delivered to the American economy. Excuse me. President Trump delivered the first trade reform. He replaced the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, with the United States, Mexico, and Canada Trade Agreement, USMCA, the most significant and balanced trade agreement in history. This agreement will create more balanced trade that supports high-paying jobs that benefit Polish Americans and grows the North American economies. Excuse me, I have to take a cup of coffee here to clear my throat. There is nothing like a good cup of coffee. Each and every one of us knows that President Trump oversaw the world's greatest economy before the coronavirus struck our shores. You all have to agree with that. President Trump oversaw the world's greatest economy before the coronavirus struck our shores. All Polish Americans should remember that. That's important because of the strong foundation established through Donald Trump's economic policies, which are very important. Before the global COVID-19 pandemic, America is on track to bounce back bigger and better than ever before. That means great prosperity for every Polish American in this country. Let me repeat that again. All Polish Americans should remember that because of the strong foundation established through Donald Trump's economic policies before the global COVID-19 pandemic, America is now on track to bounce back bigger and better than ever before. That means great prosperity for every Polish American in this country. I have to say, and every listener in our audience has to agree, that President Trump led a historic total government approach to combat this devastating pandemic. He took bold and decisive action by suspending travel from China. This example of strong leadership saved countless American lives, and we launched He launched one of the largest, he launched one of the largest mobilizations of public and private sector resources since World War II. President Trump secured direct economic payments to help countless Polish Americans who are hurting due to the pandemic. For all Polish American families, the president spearheaded the Paycheck Protection Program, which saved small businesses that employ 50 million Americans, many of which were Polish American businesses, like you, our listeners. Thanks to President Trump's Operation Warp Speed, a massive public health endeavor unlike any in history, our country is now on track to have a safe and effective vaccination by year's end. I want our audience listening to remember a few years ago when President Trump took office. At that point in time, America's standing as the leader of the free world was threatened. Yes, it was threatened. Our military was depleted by the Obama-Biden administration. We didn't have bullets, other equipment, etc. Radical Islamic terrorists were on the rise. And now, 4 years later, we have met every challenge head on, reestablishing American dominance across the globe. President Trump rebuilt our military to keep Americans and our Polish Americans safe. He made it a priority to rebuild our national defense, securing nearly $2.2 trillion in total military funding during his first 3 years in office. Many Polish Americans who are in the military praise the accomplishments of President Trump. Additionally, President Trump delivered the largest military pay raise in a decade for our brave warriors, many of whom are Polish Americans. A strong and respected American military, supported by Polish Americans, is helping achieve peace through strength around the world. And he is reinforcing the Polish border with U.S. military forces. You know, the Democrat leaders are so stupid for the deal John Kerry made with Iran. Rather than sending pallets of cash to Iranian mullahs, President Trump got America out of the President Trump, yes, he got us out of the American. Let me back up a second. President Trump got America out of the Iran nuclear deal and eliminated the world's most dangerous terrorists on the battlefield, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and Qasem Soleimani. They are all gone. I want to repeat that again for you. President Trump got America out of the Iran nuclear deal and eliminated the world's most dangerous terrorists on the battlefield. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and Qasem Soleimani are gone. Here on our great American shores, President Trump has stood every day with the men and women who serve on the blue line, the thin blue line of law enforcement, and he always will. President Trump knows that we have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting our minority communities. We want our Polish American communities, homes, and businesses to be safe. Under President Trump's leadership, he has been doing both for 3.5 years. He has been supporting the thin blue line of law enforcement. That buffoon, yes, I say that buffoon, Joe Biden, has voiced his, oh, come on now, support for cutting and redirecting core police funding. And he would double down on policies that have led to violence across our major cities. I have to repeat again, that buffoon, Joe Biden, has voiced his, oh, come on now, man, support for cutting and redirecting core police funding, and he would double down on policies that have led to violence across our major cities. When you withdraw support for those who protect and serve, especially our Polish American communities, you only embolden those who would do harm to our Polish families and our Polish communities. Let me say that again. When you withdraw support for those who protect and serve, especially our Polish American communities, You only embolden those who would do harm to our Polish families and our Polish communities. Radio listeners, Polish American voters are key to re-electing President Trump. We did it in 2016. We can do it again. Polish Americans make up approximately 10% of the populations of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and vote larger than their numbers, accounting for almost 15% of the total vote in those states. That does not even consider Polish Americans in other key states like Illinois, Florida, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Ohio, who can tip the election in favor of President Donald J. Trump. We need every single vote. President Trump turned many of those states to Republican states in 2016, winning with less than 1% of the vote. That is why it is so very, very important for you to vote and vote for President Donald J. Trump. It is estimated that the Polish American vote was about 70 to 75% for President Trump in 2016. We need it to be much higher in 2020 because of what President Trump is doing to support Polish Americans and Poland. We need you to vote for President Donald J. Trump. A massive Polish American vote in 2020 will help win the presidency for President Trump. The Polish vote is very important in key states. I want to point out that the majority of Polish Americans are Catholic and pro-life. President Trump is pro-life. We have to vote for Donald J. Trump president. All life is in the balance. President Trump is the strongest pro-life president and is fighting relentlessly to defend the rights of the unborn. There is no doubt that 2020 has been a time of unprecedented challenges. Thankfully, we have a president with the toughness, energy, and resolve to ensure that America's best days still lie ahead. A vote to re-elect President Trump is a vote for a safer, stronger, and more prosperous America for all Americans. Vote for Donald J. Trump, president. I want to remind everybody about some important points of Polish history. The first Polish immigrants came to America in Jamestown, Virginia. They were the heroes of Jamestown. October 1st was the 412th anniversary of the arrival of the first Polish settlers in America at Jamestown. They had the spirit to come and help give birth to the United States. They helped the first English settlement. They built the first water well. They built the first factory in the United States and saved Jamestown from collapse. Those are the words of Captain John Smith. Thanks to them, Jamestown survived, and they gave us the beginning of the American dream. Democracy. Democracy with the right to vote. Yes, and you can help preserve that legacy of the first Polish craftsmen and settlers to this country by voting for Donald J. Trump for president. You have the spirit and you have the power to vote. Yes, vote for Donald J. Trump for president. 4 more years of prosperity, 4 more years of free enterprise, and 4 more years of freedom. I will close our show by thanking President Frank J. Spula, President of the Polish National Alliance and Polish American Congress, for making this program possible, together with Radio WPNA 1490, Alliance Communications Incorporated, and our audience, reminding you to send your comments to us. Our email address is mogul, M-O-G-U-L, at PolishAmericansForTrump.org. That's PolishAmericansForTrump.org. That's mogul, M-O-G-U-L, at PolishAmericansForTrump.org, O-R-G. Now, remember, if you want to enter our contest to win 2 tickets to the Black Tie and Boots inaugural ball, please send us your name and address along with your comments. We would love to hear from you. Dziękuję to our Polish audience. We have many outstanding guests coming up on our show, and we look forward to our future broadcasts. Dziękuję bardzo. Do następnego razu. Bye-bye.